This book, The Psychology of Money, made me a better business owner. Doing well with money is more about how you behave rather than what you know, and the same applies to business. We are all sold the idea of what a business owner is supposed to be, and sometimes that can lead us into financial trouble. I'm going to talk about my 5 favorite chapters in the book, The Psychology of Money, and how it can help you be a better business owner and how it can help you with your personal finances. There are 1,000 ways to get wealthy, but only one way to stay that way. Don't fumble the bag. I'm pretty sure you've heard of Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger, but did you know that there was a third person that was part of this group? His name was Rick Gerwin. Of course, all 3 of them know each other. The only reason why you haven't heard of Rick is because Charlie and Warren stayed rich. Rick ultimately lost out because he was entirely too greedy. In the book, Warren Buffett has a quote that says, "Charlie and I always knew that we would become incredibly wealthy. We were not in a hurry to get wealthy. Rick was in a hurry. Rick was just as smart as they were, but Rick was in a hurry." So I'll spoil it for you so you'll know exactly what happened to Rick, but read the book. It's a really good one. In the 1973 through 74 downturn, Rick was leveraged with margin loans, and the stock market went down almost 70% in those 2 years. So he got margin calls. For those of you who don't know, a margin call is when a broker gets on the phone with you because you don't have enough money in the account to sustain your losses. So you need to add more money in there. But Rick didn't have any more money, so he was wiped out completely. And you know the saying, it takes money to make money. Rick never financially recovered from that. How this relates to you with either your business or personal finance is that both of them are about surviving. Think about it. There's risk involved with starting your own business. For me personally, I've missed out on at least $30,000 from not being able to have the W-2 job where I'm investing into my 401k every single month and having that money compound. But the upside is that I had the opportunity to make way more money than I would if I would have stayed in my previous role. Keyword is opportunity. Not everything is going to go according to plan. And that's what we should plan for as business owners. That's why I'm a big advocate for getting your personal finances in order before you start on your entrepreneurship journey. Or you do a little bit half and half. You keep your 9 to 5 and then do your business on the side. From personal experience, I saved every single dollar that I made on the side for my business for the entirety of the first year and reinvested it into my business. So I didn't use that money to be spent on bills or even trying to buy stuff with it. I reinvested it all into camera gear, lights, courses to make my skills better. That's because in business, you cannot stay the same. The key to staying wealthy, especially in business, means that you're not financially tied to one singular company, or think of it as over leveraged into one singular company. I've had that happen to me personally where I've had a company go out of business before they even had a chance to pay me. Had they been my only client or even my largest client, I would have felt that a lot more than I did by missing out on one paycheck from them. I'm on YouTube to share my entrepreneurial journey and how it was made possible through understanding personal finance. And I want you to do the same. So if that speaks to you and you want to get more videos like this, consider hitting the subscribe button. My final thoughts on getting wealthy versus staying wealthy. Many people think that getting wealthy is like having overnight success. And many people think that's how business is as well. They'll think that they'll wake up one day and they've made it. And that's not exactly how that works. Business and personal finance, when done right, involves 1,000 tiny steps. Even sometimes those steps are in the opposite direction of where you want to go. Through each one of those steps, you learn and you build the skills to be able to manage your finances or manage business relationships. And that way, when you finally do have a lot of money coming in, either through managing your money successfully or by managing your business relationships, you're able to manage having a lot of money and you're able to survive into the point where your investments can pretty much fund your entire life. For me personally, that's the goal. And that ties in perfectly to the next chapter that I'm going to talk about, which is titled Freedom. The highest form of wealth, according to the book, is to wake up in the morning and say, I can do whatever I want today. But I think I'm going to do the book one better. I think the highest form of wealth is to wake up in the morning and be excited about whatever it is that you're going to do for the day. Think about it when you were a kid. The best days were when you wake up and you were going on a field trip or you were going to do something exciting for that day. That was the best feeling in the world as a kid, and for me personally, that's still the best feeling. This chapter talks about happiness. The best part about being self-employed isn't really about the freedom for me. It's about being able to do work that I love with people that I actually like. And I only work with people that I like. And I even get to show up to work as my whole self. I don't even have to code switch. According to the book, having a strong sense of controlling your life is the strongest predictor of positive feelings of well-being. You know that feeling that you get on Sunday evening when you start counting the seconds, minutes, and hours until you wake up on Monday morning and have to go to work? The clock controls your life. Work dominates your life to the extent that you plan the meals that you eat, when you sleep, and all the activities that you like to do for fun around the hours that you have to work. The clock still controls my life, but to a lesser extent. Right now as I record this, it's 2:31 on a Tuesday. I've got a shoot to go to tomorrow at 11. I've got an appointment to go to right after that, which is going to leave me being stuck in 5 o'clock traffic, but that's okay. That's because I'm excited to do these things. And the best part is I have the option to say no. Saying no means that I don't get paid and I probably burn one of my business relationships. And of course, that's not something that I want to do. Some clients and some job sites are pretty flexible. We can work together and find a time that works out best for both of us. Other times, there is no flexibility, and I have to understand that. I feel like I'm able to do what I love every single day. And it's true that we exchange freedom for dollars when it comes to work. The biggest difference I found being self-employed is that my dollars feel better when I earn them. Next, we'll talk about the shortest chapter in the book. It's called the Man in the Car Paradox. It basically says no one is going to be impressed with you based on the things that you have. I'll give you a personal example. When I was 19 years old, I bought my first motorcycle. At the college that I was at, the upperclassmen got kicked off of campus to make more room for freshmen to move into the on-campus dorms. There was a huge parking problem at the college that I attended. There was more students than parking spaces, so my solution was to get a motorcycle and park basically on the sidewalk so I wouldn't have to fight over parking spaces every single day. Something funny happened back then. I would get on Instagram and see people who I didn't even know sitting on my bike. Any biker can tell you that the assumption is that you're gonna get all the girls whenever you have a motorcycle. The only people that really like motorcycles is guys. So you're gonna get a lot of male attention from having a motorcycle, but honestly, there aren't that many women that are going to want to talk to you solely because you own a motorcycle. The same applies to the possessions that you have or the businesses that you run. Besides your inner circle of true friends, nobody who knows about you or your business or your possession really cares about you. People normally see a big house and imagine what would it be like if they themselves lived in the big house. They don't really think about whoever owns or currently lives in the big house. They're just thinking, oh yeah, someone obviously owns it, but what if I live there? And even younger guys think about that with cars. You see like someone driving a Lamborghini and they think, oh yeah, it would be so cool to own a Lamborghini. I don't think it's cool to own a Lamborghini. I'd rather have a Porsche 911 GT3 RS. But they think that it would be cool to drive a Lamborghini. They're not really thinking about like whoever it is that actually owns the Lamborghini. Maybe the full extent of the thought might lead to, you know, what does the person that drives that Lamborghini do? But they, like I said, they're more concerned about the business or whatever job or skills that they have that makes them be able to afford the lifestyle that lets them buy a Lamborghini. But they don't really care about the person themselves. That's exactly what this chapter in the book details. No one really cares about your possessions as much as you do. I might talk about some of my other interests besides personal finance or realistic entrepreneurship, but that's not what y'all are here for. So I do try to keep my talk of my love of riding motorcycles or my enjoyment of sim racing down to a minimum, but that does lead me to the next chapter of the book. Wealth is what you don't see. This should be an obvious no-brainer. Spending money to show people how much money you have leads to you having less money. Do you want to be a millionaire or do you want to spend $1 million? Be honest with yourself. While you think about it, I'm going to tell you a story. If you were on Instagram in the early 2010s, you probably heard of Dan Bilzerian. He's a weird-looking guy who has some weird ideas about relationships and pretty much everything else, if we're being honest. But if you are a young man during that time like I was, you look at his photos on Instagram and think that he was living the life. He was always shirtless and surrounded by women, pretty much living in the position where any teenage boy would love to be in. But when he opens his mouth and you listen to him speak, he lets some pretty telling things slip. For example, he's admitted that he pays those women to be around him. Also, whenever he's questioned about how he earns his money, He always says something super vague, or he'll say that, oh, he's, a professional poker player. Which, when you're a professional poker player, you're definitely going to get taxed on all of your winnings. There's definitely going to be verifiable sources of your winnings. So it was always vaguely alluded to that there was something else that was funding his lifestyle. Dan allegedly was spending money that he didn't have through a business that allegedly wasn't profitable. Eventually, Dan allegedly went broke trying to look like he had a life worth living for Instagram. Also, Dan apparently comes from money. He has familial connections, so he'll probably fail upwards anyway. I don't have that luxury. Most of us don't. That's why I talk about personal finance and realistic entrepreneurship on YouTube instead of Instagram. I'm not interested in doing goofy stuff like wearing a full suit on a jet ski or driving my Lamborghini into my garage with a bookshelf in it to make it look like I've got smarts and money. I'm not here to convince some internet strangers that my existence is better than theirs and that there's some secret to money that you'll have to pay me to find out about. If you learn the basics of personal finance and how it interacts with your own personal psychology, you can do some self-reflection and figure out why you do some of the things that you do around money. And maybe you can get some clarity on what you truly want out of life. Impress yourself instead of trying to impress others, because ultimately, you'll change. That's the title of the last chapter that I'm going to talk about. I think this is one of the most important chapters about personal finance in this book. How you feel today isn't going to be how you feel tomorrow. In fact, I wrote this about 7 or 8 years ago. I keep this on my nightstand, and at the time, this is who I wanted to be. I haven't read it in years, honestly, so I really don't remember what was put on here, but I'll give you a little bit of rundown of what I wrote. So this was before I got married. The first thing that I put on here, I said that I'm married to Alicia, a woman that I respect and consider to be my best friend. For health, I cook a majority of my meals and try out new ones at least once a month. I have less than 10% body fat. Maybe I should put like less than 15 or something, because 10% is, ain't no way. I drink water daily. I still do. That's a good. I encourage my family to make healthy choices to make sure our brain and bodies are in top shape. Okay. Let's see what I put for professional. I have my own business, which allows me to generate income passively. Well, I've got to own my own business part. It's very active income that I'm generating though, so there's no passive income here. Wow, here's one. It says I work when, where, and how I work best. And yeah, that's really reflective of my personal life, the life that I'm living right now. That's crazy. I enjoy what I do to make money. Man, that's big. I get to use my creative skills every day. I really feel like I've done all of these. All right, so in talking about the chapter, You'll Change, it turns out I became the person who I wanted to be 8 years ago. At every stage of our lives, we make decisions that influence the person that we'll become. Sometimes we don't get to become those people that we want to be, or we miss out on our goals entirely because we're not intentional about our finances or how we spend our time day to day. We spend too much time buying trends and collecting hobbies instead of going deep into one hobby and building our skills. Ultimately, the one thing that we know for certain is that we won't feel the same as we do today. By the time you become the person that you intended to become, would you rather have $1 million waiting on you? Or would you rather have spent $1 million and be surrounded by possessions that don't reflect who you are anymore? You have the freedom to choose. Thank you so much for watching. You can find a link to The Psychology of Money in the description below. Hopefully you've learned something today that you can use to create the life that you want to live.